You don't have a question there? Anything about that bothering anybody? You have to, hey, if you're not scoring how you want on tests, another thing to ask yourself is, in class, are you always thinking along with me? If you're always thinking along with me, one, either you're confirming your thoughts, which will make your memories more permanent, or two, you should be raising your hand and saying, I don't understand. So 2 more points for Chris for doing that on the last one. Everybody good to hear? Please, lady. No one talks so I can hear.
I feel like I'm going back to like old habits of like
You're okay.
thinking about past problems, but wouldn't you try to find the y first? The
Y coordinate.
The y coordinate.
Hey, no one talk. 2 points for Elena. It doesn't really matter what you do first. So that might be a memory of a problem we did before where that's what we did first on that one. Doesn't necessarily mean we need to do it.
Okay.
Like the order doesn't matter. So I get to here, and then y prime equals, let's see, that'd be y plus xy prime plus 2x. So I get y prime, subtract xy prime. Factor out the y prime. Okay, hands up, please. Come on, hands. What do the x and y mean in this equation? You've got to know the meaning. Hands, what do they mean? What does the x and y represent in that equation? Got to know. Don't make a flashcard. Sophie.
Is it a point on the line?
So we've got this. In this case, it would be a curve. I use line when it's straight. So I have a curve. Don't have any idea what the curve looks like. X and Y are any point on the line. There's a million of them, but they represent some point on the line. Somebody knew it? 22 for Sophie. Okay, look here at this formula. This is not a trick question. I just want you to raise your hand and think with me. What does the X and Y represent in this equation? This is not a trick. If it feels like a trick, then you are understanding why I asked the question. So I said, what does X and Y represent here? And you said, some point on this curve. What does X and Y represent in this equation? Let's go, Kenny.
Just the, is that the slope?
2 points, but no. Tori?
The points on the, just the same points on the line, the curve.
Okay, the key thing is, same thing. X and Y in this equation do not have a different meaning than the X and Y in this equation. Because you didn't do anything to change their meaning. You used derivative rules to create this equation, but you did not change the meaning of X and Y. So X and Y here is just some point. X and Y here, same thing. Somebody knew it? 0.2 for Tori. Questions, please, John.
But this, like, as a whole, helps you find any slope up on the curve?
Perfect, perfect. So this equation as a whole, like you said, will allow me to find any xy pair on the curve. This equation will allow me to find any slope on this curve.
So you're trying to, so like, just the question is asking, so it gives you the x, and it wants you to find the y.
Not really.
Is that?
It's giving you an x on this curve.
Yeah, what is it?
It wants the slope right here.
Okay.
Because dy dx means
The
slope.
derivative of slope.
So I want this slope right here. What is this slope right there? So what does the formula demand to find the slope?
Oh, you need both, so you have to find the y.
That's why Elena remembered that we had to find the y.
Okay, so it doesn't matter which one you do first.
That's why the order doesn't matter. Does that make sense? Hey, look up, look up. Look, I just keep saying it over and again. If you sit and listen passively, you'll always score badly in this class. And you'll get frustrated. You're like, why can't I figure this out? It's because you haven't shifted your thinking from, secondary 3 to calculus. Secondary 3, I know you could sit passively. You could wait for the practice test. Fair? You can't here. Like every day you've got to make sense of it. If you wait, you will score badly on the next test. And you won't be able to dig out. The key is understanding this equation can find any xy pair. They want the slope right here. That's what that means. So I create the equation for finding the slope. Well, that equation needs an x and a y. All I have is the x. So I go back to this formula. Y equals the x value, -1, times y, plus the x value. Make sure you use parentheses. So I have y equals -y plus 1 plus 1. So bring this over, you get 2y equals 2. So if I plug in a x equal -1 and a y equal 1 into this equation, the equation will be true. It's a point on the curve, Justin.
How did you get it from y equals -1 to 2y equals 2?
So look at me, come on, look. You got 2 minutes, look. The key is understanding that all you're ever doing is trying to make this equation valid. So when x is -1, this equation still has to be valid. Like this has got to be a true statement. But it's hard to see the truth in it without rearranging a little bit. That's what algebra is. It's just a way to rearrange so I can see it. So, are you good to hear? So I'm going to add y to both sides. If I add y here, these two values will add to make 0.
Oh, okay.
But adding y here produces 2y. Now I can see. Way up here, if I plugged in y equal 1, this would be a true statement. If I plug in y equal 1 and x equal -1, this will be true. So I use both of those now here. I say y prime for x equal 1, y equal -1. That's going to equal too low on the board here. Question, Lee?
And that's the answer.
I got you.
What is, everybody, hands up, come on. What does the 1/2 represent? It's not good enough in this class to say, good question, but it's not good enough to say this is the answer. If you don't know what the heck the answer means, you're going to get a bad score on the next step. What does this mean? Carson?
The slope of the slope of that point.
So the slope of the curve at that point. How many knew it? 2 points, 3 for Carson. Please.
Why is the x
No
on
one's
the
off.
bottom? Why is the x on the bottom -1 and x on the top 1?
How many saw the mistake? Hands up. Don't leave, we got to fix it. So really we should end up with -3/2?
No, and then why be just 1?
Help me out, what am I doing wrong?
What?
Oh, this is positive 1.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we get a -1 on the top, +2 on the bottom. Thank you. How many noticed the mistake? 2 points, 3 for Gary. Good work. Yeah, that is very confusing. Question? Okay, don't